Hi there, BookTube. My name is Nathan, and I'm the Rambling Reviewer. I got some books the other day. Got some stuff from the library that I had put on hold, and got some stuff in the mail from eBay that I had bought. Um, all for Horror Mayhem, and I wanted to show those off and talk about what I had gotten, about some of the stories that I am seeing in these books. Uh, for those who don't know, Horror Mayhem though is a event that is starting in May, which actually just going through the month of May. It was started by the Bryants, Scott and Becky, the Bookish Bryants, um, and the goal is to celebrate horror. Ideally, short form horror. However, this is a very lax event. As long as you read horror, whether it's short or long, you are participating. But we do like to focus on short horror as a good introductory uh, as a good introduction for people who have not possibly read a lot of horror. And the event is divided into 4 weekly prompts. Those are local horror, so whatever is local to you. It could be horror that's based in your state, or your country, or your city, your county, whatever. Uh, Movie horror, so possibly a book novelization. Or one thing I'm going to do a lot of is read old books or stories and then watch an adaptation of it. I'll probably be doing that all month, but I'm going to particularly focus on that in the second week. There's classic horror. Again, it is up to you what you define as classic horror. I'm going with particularly like old gothic horror. Um, the Victorians or earlier, or possibly a little bit later. Um, and contemporary horror, again, it's up to you what you define as contemporary horror. My thing is slipping. uh, there we go. So, those are the 4 weekly prompts. We also have a big bingo board um, of additional prompts, kind of like motifs for horror. And the way I'm going to personally do this event is try to get as many of those motifs as I can. Um, and focus a little bit less on the weekly prompts. I will be doing the weekly prompts. However, I won't put all of my local horror to the first week. I'm not going to put all my classic horror to the third week. They will be interspersed throughout the months, although, again, I might focus a little bit more on them in the week that they are happening. Unfortunately, to this year, the Bryants cannot participate due to some health issues. My thoughts are with them. Hope they're doing great, or not great, but I hope they're doing okay. But we do have a large selection of co-hosts, myself included. I will link all of them down below. If anyone watches this and sees that I missed somebody, please let me know, and I will add them in. But I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to start by showing off the books that I bought. I should note, only one of these is actually a TBR item. The rest are just stuff I might get to. A lot of these are anthologies, and so I will probably flip through them and read some of the stuff, but not read all the stuff. This is just so I have access to a lot of horror. But the first thing that I will be reading, definitely, is The Terror by Dan Simmons. And I think this actually works for local horror, because I believe Dan Simmons is from my area. I need to double check that, but I'm pretty sure. The Terror is a wonderful horror novel that I will be buddy reading with a whole bunch of booktubers. It started out as Sean D. Standfast was going to read this, and then said, hey, if anyone wants to buddy read it, let me know. And I said, yeah. And I know Jess at Bad is Red 2 said, yeah. And I know a bunch of others have said, yeah. But I haven't been active in that Voxer group recently, so I need to go back in there and just double check who all's in it, and also start responding to the messages. And I think Mark at Book Time Itself might be doing this too, and several others. I'm gonna double check who all's in it, and I'm going to note them in the description along with everyone else who is partaking in the bigger event. But I'll note who is reading this book so that if they do videos on it, you can see them. But no, The Terror is a great novel. It's historical fiction and horror. And it follows a crew who are stranded in the Arctic. Uh, up north, north of Canada and Greenland. And if you don't want to be spoiled on this, I'm not gonna spoil much, but I will say a little bit about the book if you want to go in completely blind, which this book definitely. There's a lot to. It would probably warrant going in blind, but if you want to know a little bit more about it, it does have a lot of. Oh, if you don't want to hear it though, just mute the video and I'll flail my hands in a few minutes. um, Getting ahead of myself. um, but yeah, there's some great natural horror, starvation, freezing to death, scurvy, madness, some human horror. But there's also a intimidating and amazing supernatural horror, a creature that shows up in this book. It's called a Toonbach. It's a giant, malevolent, intelligent, oddly proportioned, and downright mean polar bear. It's a great monster. It's creepy. This is a great book. One of my favorite parts in this book is a little chapter that mimics the Red Death. The scene has them making a masquerade in the Arctic, based around the Mask of the Red Death, and then singing singing Britannia. Or no, it's a really good one. Well, the rest of these are anthologies. I should know this is also the only thing I've ever read before. I have read this. I need to get a copy, so this is my copy. It's a pretty nice copy, a library copy, but I'm happy for it. I'm happy with it. We got Penny Dreadfuls, Sensational Tales of Terror. And this is not a collection of Penny Dreadfuls. This is a collection of gothic horror from about the time of Penny Dreadfuls, but not themselves Penny Dreadfuls. And it's got Frankenstein in it. It's got The Pit and the Pendulum. It's got The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's got a bunch of other stuff that I'm not super familiar with. The Werewolf, A Legend of the Limousin. Limousin? Is that how you pronounce it? It's French, but I'm not sure. Sweeney Todd's in here. The Dream Woman by Wilkie Collins. The Adventure of the German Student by Washington Irving. Diary of a Madman by Guy de Maupassant. A lot of stuff that I'm not familiar with, or that I've either heard of but never read. So I'm very excited for this. This will definitely be something I'm going to dig into, especially for the third week for classic horror. I've got The Dark Descent, edited by David G. Hartwell. This has a bunch of different. This is a pretty famous anthology of horror. I think I heard this was kind of referred to as like the Dangerous Visions of horror. Well, that might have been a different one actually. I've done another one that might have been. But no, it's got lovely classic horror in here. It's got yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Never read that one, but I have heard of that one. I've been wanting to read it. Stuff by Carl Edward Wagner, another writer who I've been wanting to read. It's got Stephen King, Clive Barker, Edgar Allan Poe, Harlan Ellison, Ray Bradbury, H.P. Lovecraft. It's got Shirley Jackson. including The Summer People, which is a really good story about a couple who have a summer home and one year decide to stay into the autumn, which none of the summer people ever do. Young Goodman Brown by by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I don't know where I got Jonathan from, but The Yellow Wallpapers, some stuff by Richard Matheson, Flannery O'Connor, Ramsey Campbell, Henry James, Fritz Leiber, Gene Wolfe, Charles Dickens. It's got The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, another one of my favorites. A creepy story about two men who are traveling down a river in Europe. I don't think it's the Seine, but I can't remember which one it is. But they get stuck in a marsh of willows, and supernatural shenanigans ensue. But no, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to rereading both The Willows and The Summer People for this, and reading a bunch of the other stuff in here also. And then one that's especially going to be good for the second week of Horror Mayhem for the movie horror. This is technically not movies, but TV. Is a collection of stories that were adapted into Twilight Zone episodes. The only one in here that I've read so far is The Howling Man, which I've also watched. Actually, wait, no, I have read, I was looking at this earlier, and it had an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, I think that's the name of it, which I have read. Yeah, an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge by Ambrose Bierce. I have read that one. But one of my plans is to read several of these stories and then compare them to the Twilight Zone episodes. I'm going to do that for a bunch of stuff, not just Twilight Zone. So that is all of the stuff I bought. Now the stuff that I checked out. Starting off with things that are not anthologies, I've got The Fisherman by John Langan. I've been wanting to read this for a while as kind of a pivotal work of new weird fiction. Not gotten into it yet, but I'm excited for it. I also have Hellboy, first volume of this, for a graphic novel to read. That's one of the motifs, one of the additional prompts that is in the bingo board. I'm excited for that. And now going on into the anthologies, I've got the new Cthulhu, the recent Weird. I have a anthology that I really love that I plan to read again more of this coming month. Just called The Weird by and it's edited by Jeff and Anne Vandermeer. And it's got stuff by Stephen King, by Algernon Blackwood, Gina Mielville, Lovecraft, Poppy Z. Bright, a bunch of people. A bunch of incredibly important names in the history of horror and weird fiction. And this is just going to add more to that collection of what I can read for weird fiction. And I greatly love weird fiction. It's actually, interestingly enough, I just noticed this in the this book is dedicated to Anne Kennedy Vandermeer, who inspired me to be an editor with the silver web and kindness, who still remains kind and inspiring, and who put the weird back in weird tale fiction. And it's got stuff by Caitlin R. Kiernan, Neil Gaiman, China Mielville, who else did I see Laird Barron, Elizabeth Bear. Some of these names I know, some of them I do not know. The only one I've heard of so far is A Study in Emerald, which I've been wanting to read anyways, so looking forward to this one. I've got The Dark Forces. This actually might be the one that was referred to as the dangerous visions of horror, because this is actually, I believe this was new horror fiction written by these authors, whereas The Dark Descent is an anthology, I think, compiling older stuff. So, and it's got horror from Ray Bradbury, Rosie Campbell, Richard Matheson, Stephen King, Carl Edward Wagner again, Gene Wolfe, Theodore Sturgeon, Robert Eggman, Joyce Carol Oates. It does have The Mist in it, which I still have yet to read, so I'm excited for that one. Then I got another collection of H.P. Lovecraft-inspired horror. This is The Shadows over Innsmouth, as opposed to The Shadow over Innsmouth. This does have The Shadow over Innsmouth in it, singular, which I have read and I do like it quite a bit. I'm not a huge Lovecraft fan. I prefer Blackwood from what I've read. I prefer Arthur Machen from what I've read of him. And I prefer several other stuff I've read in weird fiction. But The Shadow over Innsmouth is one of the ones that I do like quite a bit. And this will just take that story as inspiration. It's also got stuff by Brian Lumley, Neil Gaiman, Ramsey Campbell, D.F. Lewis, several others. Then, going from Cthulhu to corpses, we got another kind of archetypal monster, vampire, zombies. The Living Dead is a collection of stories about zombies. I did notice there's something in here by Dan Simmons also, which I definitely want to read. This year's class picture, especially the very first story. It's also got stuff by Clive Barker, Joe Hill, Laurel K. Hamilton, Brian Evenson, Stephen King, of course, George R. R. Martin, I definitely want to read that one, Neil Gaiman again, Poppy Z. Bright, Harlan Ellison, Robert Silverberg, John Langan, and again, multiple others who I don't recognize. But zombies are actually one of my least favorite kind of archetypal monsters. I vastly prefer werewolves and vampires, witches to ghosts. I've never been a big zombie fan, but I do want to still reason this is I'm a big fan in general of the archetypal kind of classic monsters, and zombies are definitely one of those classic monsters. And then finally we have October Dreams. And this also just has a bunch of Halloween-themed horror stuff by Thomas Ligotti, Jack Ketchum, Poppy Z. Bright, Dean Koontz, Richard Lehman, Ray Bradbury, Caitlin R. Kernan, John Shirley, Peter Straub, F. Paul Wilson, Kim Newman, and several others. So that is the last of the anthologies that I checked out. I do plan to try to get some more throughout the month and in the upcoming weeks leading up to the month of May. But that's what I have right now. So if any of this interests you, if you've read any of this, or if these anthologies are something that you already own, whatever, or if it's something that is what you plan to read, let me know, and let me know what your plan is for Horror Mayhem if you are participating. Anyways, BookTube, bye.